Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day. So today I'm going to give you an overview of generators in Starbase. This is going to include the different tiers, how to make a basic generator, and then the ways you can refine those generators. So first off, we're going to start with our tiers. On the left, we have tier 1, middle, tier 2, right, tier 3. And as you'll see, they are colored differently. So tier 1, basic tier, is blue. Tier 2, the efficient tier, is red, and Tier 3, the performance tier, is yellow. So, first off, the difference is the Tier 1 generator will use up about 50 fuel per second. This is just a benchmark I've made. Will use up about 50 fuel per second and create 1,000 power output. The red generator, our Tier 2, our efficient, will use about 34 fuel per second, but would put out the same amount of power, 1,000 power per second. Then our tier 3 over here will put out 1,250 power per second, but it uses slightly more than our tier 2, about 36, 37 fuel per second. That's what I've benchmarked, putting all of these three together and running these generators like this, so it may be off slightly from real values, but it's just to illustrate. If you're going for efficiency, go for the middle one, and if possible, if you have the resources, I would recommend going with a tier 2 or tier 3 generator because it'll save you a lot of resources down the line. Now, you're probably wondering, what resources am I going to be saving? Well, if you look at these two fuel rods, you're going to notice they're different colors, and that does mean something. So, this is a tier 1 fuel rod, and its fuel is Nergite, and it can only go in tier 1 reactors. So keep that in mind when you need to take replacements to people or other things like that. Now, tier 2, however, can go in tier 2 and tier 3 reactors, but its fuel is Exorium. So it is a little bit more expensive, but it covers a lot more range when it's powering things. And now I'll show you guys how to build a quick generator. So generators are infinitely expandable, so you can use a lot of these parts if you wanted to. So just keep that in mind when you're putting your own generators together. So the first component you'll need is your fuel chamber. This is where you're going to actually put in the fuel rods. And then you're going to need a generator unit. Now, you might notice they have these little designs on the sides. That is where these will all snap together, and it's required that they do snap to be considered a single generator unit. So, I like to have my fuel chambers in a 1:3 ratio with the generator units. So here we go, there's 3 right there. Then up next, one of the things you're going to need for your generator to operate is your socket board. This is where you're going to take your cable output for your generator and where you'll power the rest of your ship from. So again, look at the back of that. It has the same connection point as the rest of the generator, and it snaps right on. Next, and the third thing you're going to have to worry, or the fourth thing you're going to have to worry about on your generator is cooling. Generators cannot run without some form of cooling. So we've got two forms. Number one is a cooling rack. You can put cooling cells in here, and then this will cool your generator just fine. However, they can run out. These fuel cells will run out over time and will be consumed, and you'll have to recharge them, which can be an issue. If you don't want that, though, what you can do is instead use radiators. To use a radiator, all you need is the generator pipe socket board. Now, you will be using this in conjunction with your cable, your generator socket board, and so you'll just hook up a pipe to it, and you'll send it out to your ship's pipe network. Then, you'll go over to wherever you have your radiators, and this is how you make a radiator. You have a device hardpoint, and this hardpoint is going to be hooked up with both pipe and cable. Then on top of the hardpoint, you're going to put a radiator base. And on top of that, on either side, you're going to put radiator extensions. And make sure this little orange area where the bolts are is facing inwards towards the base. Depending on your cooling needs, you may need to have multiple generators, multiple radiators, or multiple cooling units, essentially. And remember, as I said earlier, you can expand this a lot. So you could theoretically just do this and have tons of cooling on there in the terms of these cooling cells, or, have a couple radiators. But I'm about to show you why this might not be the greatest idea, making a whole block of generators. So if we swap over to our wiki page right now, you're going to see some of the information I've just told you. So there are the 3 generator tiers here at the top, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go down from there. So our accent colors, as I described, blue, red, and yellow, and then our fuels. But what we're going to really focus on that I haven't told you is fuel chamber heat generated and unit heat generated. So with tier 1, with both of those, it's 100 heat per unit, and then it decreases by 10 for each tier. So at the tier 3, you would only get 80. But that is not always the case, because generator units make extra heat for each other generator they're adjacent to. This results in some interesting issues where if you have a block of generators and say one unit in the middle is touching 6 other generator units, that creates an extra 280 heat. So depending on your coolant needs, it might be a good idea to actually spread out your generator and not make it a solid generator block. Then here we have some specifics. Your cooling rack will remove 300 heat regardless of how many cells are in the rack, and each radiator piece will remove 90 heat. So your radiator base removes 90, and every additional piece on top of that removes 90. And so that is how you could calculate the actual cooling needs of your generator if you wanted to really min-max this. But just keep in mind, the pipe socket board can only transfer 3,000 heat out of it, so you may need multiple if you have a massive generator. So if you are looking for some do's and do nots of generators, I have a quick example for you guys who've stayed here to the end. The first is our do not here on the left. This generator in the middle right there that I've just selected is going to be producing that extra 200 and some heat, which you do not want. So you really do not want to be packing in your generators and just having a solid block of generators. However, this might be useful. If you'll notice, this might be a reconfigured design from earlier. If we look over here, we've got 3 fuel rods and then 9 of these generator units. But this will produce much less heat because we've got these generator fuel chambers separating the generators themselves. So the generators are at one time never touching more than 2 other generators, and most are only touching 1, which will significantly reduce the amount of heat that this assembly will create compared to our older version, where some of these generators will be touching 3 or even 4 at one time. So that's a pretty quick overview of generators and a little bit of best ways to cool them and to not have to stress your cooling needs, because cooling can be expensive and it can run out. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Have a good rest of your day.